There has been an absolute tremendous amount of conversation going on relating to Lehi, Utah, and Silicon Slopes inside of Lehi. Technology publications, business information, quality of life, everybody seems to be talking about Lehi, Utah. So if you're considering relocating or moving to Utah County, you've probably at least heard of Lehi, Utah, and maybe might be even considering a move here. Let's talk about some pros of living in Lehi and some cons of living in Lehi. I'll give you a candid look at what life is like in Lehi, Utah. First, I have to start with the outdoor lifestyle, outdoor recreation, and the scenic beauty around in this area. Lehi is next to Utah Lake, which provides some really fun water activities: boating, sailing, water skiing, jet skiing, kayaking, paddleboards, anything you can imagine on the water you can do at Utah Lake. And then we also have the majestic mountains and scenic beauty with hiking and biking and running and walking trails. Some of the best ski resorts and places to snowboard in the winter and cross-country skiing. You're about 25 minutes from the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon, and up there we've got Brighton and Alta and Solitude, some of the funnest resorts in my opinion for winter sports, and some of the most beautiful hiking trails and biking trails in the summertime. You're also about 50 minutes door to door to Park City, Utah, with Main Street and the outdoor concerts and art walks and dining and fun things to do there. In the spring, we have vibrant colors up on the mountains. In the fall, we have the oranges and reds and yellows and just a beautiful area to live. Lehi also has some amazing parks, especially Thanksgiving Point, with miles of walking through gardens and trees and waterfalls and art sculptures. Then in the evening times, you get outdoor concert. In the spring, there's a tulip festival. In the winter, there's the light festival. So just a lot of really fun things to do outdoors in the Lehi, Utah area. Now, I'm going to list a con here as well. With the outdoor lifestyle also comes some air quality issues. In the winter time, we have what we call inversions, where smog and pollution can get trapped down into our valley and stays until a storm comes through and blows it out. In the springtime, you can get some allergies, same with the fall. So sometimes if air quality is really important to you, if you have seasonal allergies, you'll want to plan for that if you're relocating to Lehi and really anywhere in Utah County. I'm going to also list another con here. With all of the great outdoor entertainment and lifestyle that's around, there is limited nightlife that happens here. There are a few evening concerts in the park. There are some plays and theater nearby. But if you're looking for nightclubs and bars and things like that, Lehi and maybe Utah in general isn't where you're going to find the nation's most renowned nightlife. You can drive up north a half an hour or so up into the Salt Lake Valley area and get some of that. But nightlife, if that's your thing, is probably going to be a con for you in this area. Lehi, Utah is a very family-friendly place to live, and so you don't get a lot of that nightlife, but you do have a lot of family-oriented entertainment. Hands-on museums, discovery museums, shows and parks and plays and things that would fall into the family type of entertainment. Now, also for me, family quality of life doesn't necessarily mean I need to have kids to be happy here, or I need to model the traditional American family. Neighborhoods are safe, crime rates are low, education is great. Let's talk about some of those other pros. First of all, crime rates. And this is according to Neighborhood Scout. They say that the national violent crime rate is 4 per 1,000 of population. In Lehi, they've rated it as just a hair above 1 per 1,000, so much safer than the national average. And with education, you have a lot of great opportunities. If we're talking about youth and children, great schools ranks many of the schools in this area as a 10 out of 10. We have a lot of 9s and a lot of 8s in the area. So Utah at times has kind of been badmouthed a little bit about public education. In Lehi, you have amazing, great, top of the country education, and that's in the public schools. We also have dual immersion schools where children will learn several languages as they're coming up through school. There's entrepreneurial focused private schools, a lot of great options for both public and private secondary and elementary education in Lehi. When we're talking about higher education, there are a lot of great opportunities. Just about 20 minutes to the south, you have two major universities, Utah Valley University and BYU. Together, there's almost 80,000 students, and they have some of the top ranked national programs for education. Then just up to the north, about a half an hour, you have University of Utah that has some of the best medical and science programs in the nation. There's also a lot of technical and career training opportunities in Lehi with all of the vibrant economic growth that's happening right now. There's a lot of opportunities to get certifications and learning that can forward your career. And since I mentioned economic opportunity, let's jump to that. This is definitely another pro for the Lehi area. There is a tech and business startup economic boom happening right now that's been going on for years. They've actually named an area in Lehi Silicon Slopes. That's not an accident. There are many major corporations coming from Silicon Valley. A lot of the big names that you're familiar with, Adobe, eBay, EA Sports, Ancestry.com, Domo.com, Podium, Pluralsight, SanDisk, you name it, there is probably at least a hub of most major technology corporations in America here. They love the diversity, they love the foreign languages that are spoken, the cost of living is better than major cities, and this has become a second Silicon Valley. With that is job opportunity, advancement opportunities, and just a robust economic environment. Lehi also has excellent healthcare options, several major hospitals, lots of medical clinics, very accessible and very quality healthcare. Now, with all of this economic boom and high quality of education and healthcare and life, come a couple of cons that you're going to see with any booming and bustling city. Probably the most notable to mention right off the bat is the cost of living. Lehi, Utah ranks about 17% higher than the national average for cost of living. However, compared to Utah as a whole, Lehi is actually about 2.6% lower than the typical cost of living in Utah. If you compare this cost of living with other major metropolitan areas, Lehi will probably have a lower cost of living than a lot of those big cities. However, if you're coming from rural areas or areas that are right around the national average for cost of living, housing and other things will seem higher than what you've been experiencing where you're at. There is also a lot of development pressure in Lehi right now. I'm going to list this as a con. New roadways being put in, huge buildings, commercial buildings going up, lots of new residential growth. The area is booming. There's good reason. Quality of life is high, economic opportunity is great, education is great. You take all of these pros and people want to be here. So there is a tremendous amount of development pressure, a lot of construction happening, a lot of growth. That's going to be around for quite a while in this area. And with that growth also comes some traffic congestion. Now, if you're living and working right in Lehi, you won't experience this as much. But if you're living just outside of Lehi in Eagle Mountain, Saratoga, American Fork, different places and the periphery around Lehi, and you're commuting into Lehi around rush hour time coming in or going out, traffic can get congested. And a lot of people, because of some of the congestion on the major roads, will, hop off and take neighborhood routes and things trying to save time. If you're living in Lehi, you'll probably have a pretty fast commute to and from work. And when I talk about traffic congestion, we're not talking about LA rush hour. It might take you 25 minutes to drive up to Eagle Mountain, whereas outside of bad traffic maybe takes you 15 minutes. And that's usually only around peak hours, rush hour coming in and going out is when it's typically busy. Other than that, traffic's usually pretty good. And as we're talking about commutes, let's list another con, and that would be public transportation. Lehi is good in its transportation. It's not excellent. This is, in my opinion, not a walkable city. I don't really know that there are any cities in Utah that are truly walkable. We do have light rail that runs all the way from Provo, Utah in the south, all the way up to Salt Lake City in the north, and then over to the Salt Lake International Airport. So you can use light rail to get there. There are buses that run back and forth, and there are hubs around that you can use, but you probably will need to own a car. I don't know that Lehi would be considered a highly walkable area where you don't need to use a car. However, we're going to list a con with this as well. We are very close to Salt Lake City, about a 30-minute drive, little less than 30-minute drive into downtown Salt Lake, where there's all kinds of entertainment and nightlife and business and restaurants and shopping and just about anything you can imagine. About 30 minutes from Salt Lake. If you're commuting to the International Airport in Salt Lake, you're right at about 30 minutes. And the cool thing about this is there's multiple freeways that you can take to get up there. So if you're ever, heading out to catch a flight and you hear that one of the freeways is backed up, it's easy to hop on one of the other ones from Lehi. You're about 30 minutes up to the Salt Lake International Airport. But if you're looking for cultural events and fun things to do, you don't necessarily have to head all the way up to Salt Lake. There is a lot of outdoor and indoor theater in Lehi. Lots of community events, festivals, outdoor activities. All of these things together create a strong sense of community and give you a lot of fun things that you can do throughout the year. Let's give you another con here that has to be mentioned almost anywhere that you would be considering living in Utah County or in northern Utah for that matter, is the harsh winters. We do get winter weather. We have a lot of snow. We'll have storms that come through. There will be weather advisories and high wind. That's to be expected up in this area. We're pretty good at keeping roads cleared and plowed. There will be times, especially with early morning commutes, where maybe a lot of snow is dumping that you're going to want to work remotely or wait for streets to get cleared. But there can be harsh winter weather. Now, if you love the outdoor skiing and cross-country skiing and snowboarding and things, you'll be excited when those things come through. But if you're just kind of huddled in your house, I'm going to list that as a con because winter weather can be sporadic and extreme at times. Lehi, Utah can be an exceptional place to live. Great economic opportunity, beautiful surroundings, lots of great education and health care. There's a few cons here as well. Think about these things. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to give you a tour and talk to you about why I love Lehi as a place to live in Utah County.